Hello everyone, and welcome to our Accolade tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to be covering a lot of different topics, but before we actually get into the nitty-gritty, we want to help you see the bigger picture. To do that, we're going to be covering a particular topic today, which is metadata as code. Right? Similar to other terminology in the industry like infrastructure as code or those types of things, we think that treating the metadata, the models and all of the artifacts around it as code is a very important pillar. Note that you can also find lots of information on our website, right? There's a great article about metadata as code, but we also have some really interesting blog articles that you can find over here. And of course, we have some very technical information in our user manual that should help you get started as well. But here's for some context. So what is it exactly? Well, first of all, metadata as code means that we are going to develop data models that are co-located with the application code. They are stored in the same repository as the application code, thanks to a tight integration with Git. Git is something that many developers and many DevOps administrators know and love very, very intimately because it is actually a fantastic way to have distributed parallel development streams, parallel workflows, and it's proven its value time and time again there, especially in Agile development processes. So Accolade is also going to be using Git, right? We're going to use it to co-locate our models with the application code so that this repository becomes the single source of truth for all of our stakeholders. Everyone will be looking at Git for the latest modeling and derived metadata information. So what that means is that the data models and all of the artifacts are going to closely follow the life cycle of your application development and deployment operations. Especially in an agile world, this is super important. When you're releasing software every week or every 2 weeks, it doesn't take a big brain to understand that the data models might get out of date very, very quickly. By co-locating these models and all of the metadata in Git, we are going to ensure that every time we release software, we also release the data models and all of the associated metadata. Not only that, we're also going to make sure that non-technical staff that potentially doesn't even have access to Git is also going to have a repository for all of the non-technical information about the data, because we're going to automate the publishing into the data catalogs as well. This is the entire end-to-end concept that we mean with metadata as code. Obviously, this is important because it enables how we can work with data models in an agile environment. Right? We want to provide the same level of governance over our schemas, data models, and metadata as we do for our code. And we want to manage these artifacts in a similar way. Git is the best repository that you can imagine to provide the control, the versioning, the collaboration, and the automation for this type of environment. We're going to orchestrate metadata pipelines this way so that everything is always kept in sync and automatically updated with all of the different assets in the ecosystem. Effectively, this will enable the infinite loop of agile development, and it will involve metadata and modeling into that lifecycle. And this will answer some key questions. For example, does everyone understand a column name in a report in the same way? We've all seen that, we've all lived through some of the confusion that can result because of this diverging interpretation. Does a column name actually exactly represent the nuances of what has been measured? Right? Does it exactly do what we expect it to do? Does the technical side of the organization have the same understanding of that representation as the business side? And what happens when these applications start evolving quickly in an agile fashion and things are added, things are modified, things are changed in a rapid way? Are the catalogs that we've put in place, sometimes painstakingly put in place for the business users, are they up to date? Are they up to date with the latest information, the latest changes in the data structure? And is there a single source of truth repository for both the business and the technical stakeholders? Remember, we want to bridge the gap between those. And Accolade, because of the way that we've architected the solution, right? It's based on a file structure, based on JSON, based on a readable format that is easily accessed and easily integrated with Git. We are able to achieve this quite easily. We have done all the work for you so that from the Accolade Studio, you can automatically publish your data models, your schema contracts, and of course, in a parallel stream, your application code into this Git repository. The Git repository then becomes the basis for a whole range of different pipeline processes. You can automate a number of operations in your dev, test, integration, production environments completely and easily. This is what the co-location in Git brings to you. It has all of that built in already. We don't need to develop some kind of proprietary automation or scripting language. We can just reuse what you already have. Accolade has also provided you with a command line interface. You probably have seen already the visual interface to Accolade, right? It's a client application that you install on a workstation. Well, but there's also a non-visual interface to Accolade, right? It's something that you can use from the command line. And what that means is that you can use this for automatic conversions and all kinds of operations that you want to do. Like, for example, automatically publish documentation when a new version has been released, or automatically do a comparison between two models, a model that's in production and a model that has been agreed upon, or an automatic reverse engineering, just verifying whether or not the model that is in production is actually the model that we agreed upon. All of this can be automated and put into these pipelines, which is also part of what we call Metadata-as-Code. Again, already mentioned this quite quickly, but we also want to make sure that Metadata-as-Code includes a very important set of stakeholders, which are people that are non-technical, right? Business users. Business users will have access to the metadata as well through an automated publishing process to the platforms that these business users already use, like, for example, a data catalog implementation. With that, we hope to have given you a little bit of useful context, what Metadata-as-Code is exactly all about. We'd like to point you to some reading materials, our online documentation, of course, our blog, and obviously also some of the books that we have written recently around specific modeling environments and schema design environments like MongoDB, but also, we have the same or similar books available now for Neo4j, Oracle 23c, Elasticsearch, and there's more coming in the next couple of months. Please also follow us on the socials, and don't forget, you can always download Accolade Studio and take it for a spin. Thank you for paying attention to this session, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your day.